What's up? I'm B and welcome to my channel. This week I have another bonus video for y'all because the Hollis family is apparently the gift that keeps on giving. Before we get into that, I have a little bit of a disclaimer for y'all, something I've been wanting to share but didn't quite know how to share it. So here it is. If I'm a little bit low energy in this video, it is because I am recovering from COVID, I guess. A little bit ago, I shared a photo that had been taken in Las Vegas. I did go to Vegas. I was not sick when I went to Vegas, but I don't like to post that I'm out of town while I'm currently out of town. I wait until I get back, for safety reasons. And so a while back, I went to Vegas, and then pretty quickly after I got home, started not feeling great. I took a few days for me to get a test scheduled, went and got a test, tested positive, felt like butt for an entire week, and I got tested again today and I tested negative, so that's good, but I am just thoroughly exhausted. I am okay. I was really not feeling great for a while, and I didn't want to share it without addressing the timeline of being in Vegas and coming home and getting sick. But yes, I will be posting more photos from Vegas. They'll be on my story, but just know I was not sick when I was there. All that's to say, I'm kind of tired. I'm still struggling with some of the symptoms of COVID, but I'm very thankful to have tested negative, and I'm very thankful that I was vaccinated at the time that I got it, because with how hard it hit me, I can only imagine how bad it would have been if I was not vaccinated. So moving on though, in Tuesday's video, I went over Rachel Hollis's recent podcast where she tells us the signs that she sees now were signs that her marriage was over. The very first thing that she talked about actually was the fact that Dave was living kind of a double life where she knew something was wrong, she knew she didn't have the full truth about something, but she didn't quite know what it was. And the truth of that thing would not have been enough to break them, but the fact that he lied about it for years, and the fact that he could live a double life and not tell her, was the thing that's okay, no, that's not okay with me. And I had said, I respect Rachel for sharing her truth. I kind of appreciate that she didn't say what it was, because that is Dave's business. But at the same time, you're bringing up the fact that he was lying about something and struggling with something, and you're not going to tell us what it is. And that is going to fuel speculation, because there is already speculation about whatever this might be on the internet. And so I think it's hard. I have empathy for Dave for the fact that he is struggling with something, and living your life online, living online and struggling with something is very tough. Honestly, when you're a public figure, people feel entitled to certain information about you. And I don't know, on the one hand, you can say, well, that's kind of part of what you signed up for. On the other hand, everyone does deserve to have basic privacy. So it's a bit of a sticky situation. But anyway, recently Dave posted a series of slides on Instagram talking about how he's taking a bit of a break from the internet. I put up a poll on my community tab and asked if y'all wanted a video about it. Most of you said yes, so that's what we're going to go over. Dave's post reads as follows. This is a really hard post for me to write, but I need to. Friends, I am going through it. Contrary to how it may seem, and contrary to how I feel, I'm expected to show up as the happy person you know me to be. I don't know that I perceive him in that way. I often perceive him as being passive-aggressive or outright aggressive, and not a very pleasant person to be around, but, that's what he thinks his audience expects of him. Okay. I am feeling completely broken from the pressure of this strange public life, and it seems the happier I've chosen to show up for you and for my family, the more unprocessed pain I'm bearing, simply deferring to a later date as it collects at the highest interest rate. I've made the very difficult but necessary for my mental health decision to pull completely away from social media while I put in the hard work and figure out what's at the root of my sadness, my anxiety, my depression. All of the things that are so freaking hard to admit here to you all, as you've so generously welcomed me and my life changes with kindness and compassion. It's interesting. I've done so much work over the past year and a half, yet I feel like I'm only getting further from whole some days. The currents I'm rowing against feel really, really strong, even with the strength I'm slowly gaining. I will always and forever have compassion for someone who is struggling with anxiety, depression, or any other mental health issue. Anyone who does not feel 100%, who wakes up and feels like they are just struggling to be who they want to be, I will always have compassion for that. However, I can't help but be bothered by the fact that this man put out a book called Built Through Courage. That's only 18 American dollars, and this book will change your life, and it's the greatest thing he's ever done, and it's all about finding your purpose and creating a better life and doing great things, all while he's apparently been hiding and covering depression and anxiety and showing up happy when that wasn't authentic for him. We're all works in progress. We all have areas where we can improve. I'm never going to say like you have to be perfect in order to make a positive impact on somebody, right? That doesn't make sense. But to be struggling so deeply and to be writing a book about how you found your purpose and you found your joy, and if you buy this book you can do that too and this will improve your life, seems very disingenuous to me, and it makes me feel like Dave's a fraud. I would never buy anything that he published or created or is hosting. I would never buy tickets to an event before this, but even more so now, even more so after seeing this. It's like, so you've just been showing up and saying that everything's great when it's not. And I get it. It's, you know, it's his personal life. He's entitled to have private moments, but maybe you take a step back from creating a literal book that's supposed to help people improve their life when you are struggling so much. Maybe you take that time, you put in that work, you focus on that, and then when you feel better, when you've got your coping techniques, and you know, if you need to be on medication for anything or you need to go to therapy, like once you are on the path to feeling better and feeling more competent, confident, happy, secure, like that's when you come back and you say, all right, guys, I got some content for y'all, and boy, is it good. This makes me sad to type because I have so much love for y'all. You carried me through the hardest time in my life. You gave me love and validation when I felt rejected from my marriage. Dave, I'm going to say it again. I said this in Tuesday's video. Stop it. I feel bad that he felt hurt by the fact that Rachel left, but one, he had to have seen it coming based on everything we know about their marriage, unless he just thought he was going to get to act however he wanted and expect whatever he wanted from Rachel, and she would have to fall in line. And that's just how it was going to be for the rest of their lives. Like, that's the only way you couldn't have seen this coming. One. Two, you are in a committed and very public relationship with someone else. How do you think this makes her feel to hear you consistently talking about how the divorce wasn't your idea, it wasn't what you wanted? I'm sure it's hard. I'm sure she gets it because she's been divorced. Heidi Powell has been divorced as well. But how are you going to enter a committed and public relationship with somebody else when you are still this hurt by the divorce? Why are you telling your audience that they carried you through that? That is such emotional manipulation. I think it's gross when creators rely on their audience for validation or for emotional support. I get it. It's tempting. I mean, when I posted my video about how the kids had been moved to, you know, their grandparents' house, and you guys commented and said like, "Oh, I'm sending you so much love. I'm giving you a virtual hug." Like, that felt good. You know, if you want to share a story every now and then of like, "Hey, this tough thing happened," you know, it's not wrong to feel good when people send you comforting messages. But you guys saw one video where I was crying and upset and struggling, and I still tried to like turn it into a positive thing and say like, this is why it's a good decision even though it's hard. What you didn't see was the weeks leading up to the day that the kids left that I was sobbing. What you guys didn't see was the weeks after they left that I was sobbing, that I was crying every day, that I was calling my mom for hours at a time and just being like, how do I handle this? How do I process this? I didn't rely on you to walk me through the emotions that I was going through and that really difficult time. I relied on my husband, I relied on my mom, I relied on my sisters, I relied on myself, and just sitting and journaling and trying to be like, what can I learn from this? This hurts so bad, but how can I turn it into something good? How can I make sure that like this doesn't feel like it was all this emotional pain and turmoil only for them to go live with somebody else? You know, what are the positive things? I did those things off camera because that's what you do when you're not trying to emotionally manipulate your audience. You don't get on here and rely on people that you don't know to carry you emotionally, because that's not healthy. Because you will never, Dave, you, with as big of an audience as you have, this post has 51,533 likes plus one by Jenna Kutcher. You will never know those people the way that they know you, and it's not fair to ask them to take up that emotional toll, to be like, okay, yep, I got you, Dave, we're here to support you. They have their own lives, they have their own things, and you will never care about them as much as they care about you, because it's just statistically impossible. And you've continued to give me the benefit of the doubt when rumors have come by way of internet trolls or unkind podcasts. I love you guys and will never be able to repay you for that. I don't know. I'm sure there are trolls, but also there's a lot of people making valid criticisms. Like, their content is calling out legitimate concerns and things that y'all should not be doing. I appreciate the concern many of you have shown over the last week. When I began my journey, I was trying to hold both working on me and being here for you and Heidi and all of my other obligations. But I realized this weekend, both in a situation like this, is not the healthiest. I'm going to be pulling away from everything but myself and my therapists for a while. I'm not sure when I'll return, or to be honest, if I ever will. Who knows? Maybe I'll find over these months that life void of social media brings happiness I never knew existed. This is what Heidi and my mom keep hypothesizing, at least. Regardless, it's time to dive in. Time to process these last few years of a move from California to Texas, from the pride of being someone inside of corporate to another's husband in a small business, from married to my best friend to feeling rejection from divorce, from not being fully emotionally ready to date to not wanting the love of my life to waltz by me because of my unreadiness, and from a private life to what feels like a very public one. Moving from California to Texas, that's a big change. Getting divorced and not knowing if you're ready to date again, but also not wanting to lose out on a good thing. Okay, I get it. That's tough. You got to process through that. But from the pride of being someone inside of corporate to another's husband in a small business. You didn't have to leave Disney. You said you wanted to. You said it wasn't a challenge. You knew you could stay there and make tons of money and it would be super easy, but it wasn't a challenge. It wasn't something that was going to change people's lives, and apparently that's what you wanted to do. Interesting. And then also, and from private life to what feels like a very public one. Y'all's lives have been public for years. Literally 4 years. So I get it. Not everybody wants to be super public. Not everybody is okay having everyone on the internet see what their daily life looks like or knowing so much about them. But this is what you agreed to, Dave. I really am struggling with this because you have benefited so much from having a very public life. And now you're saying oh, you need time to process it. And I do think it's great that he's going to therapy to help process this. I feel like the only reason he's struggling with having such a public life is because of the scandals, is because of the divorce and people being upset that y'all were still selling tickets to couples conferences while your marriage was literally hanging on by a thread, using your kids on YouTube and putting them on there, kind of exploiting them for money and for views. The issue of your book and those lives, and people are calling you on your crap. And that's why it's hard. If you didn't have these scandals, I feel like we wouldn't even be having this conversation. I don't know what the future holds. Don't know what next looks like. It's got me scared and nervous, can't lie. But I do know is that all great things are the result of leaving your safe harbor. Those boat metaphors, dude, we gotta get over it because it clearly wasn't working. Leaving your safe harbor and working through struggle head on. Here I go. Heidi, I appreciate you. Your ability to hold space for my humanness while keeping me accountable is beautiful. So grateful for your support. There's never a convenient time for this work, and you've been the best teammate, never infusing guilt, only helping me feel safe. I mean, that's a nice thing to have. At least he is grateful for her. Thanks to Rachel for the immediate voice of support when I called 3 weeks ago and the quick offer to lean in with additional time with the kids. I know this is hard for you. To the joy of gossip on the internet, all my skeletons are known. I'm here in part because of having been such an open book, but for the record, the only time I've ever led a double life was when I was pretending everything was okay and it wasn't. I feel like this is a nod to what Rachel said, where she's like, hey, he was, lying about something. He was struggling with something, and I'm not going to tell it because it's not my story, but, the double life that it requires to struggle with that and not tell your wife, that's what is strong enough to break our marriage. I'm struggling so hard to give empathy because of the contradictions, because of the way that Dave has behaved, because of the bad stuff that he does and that he continues to do. I feel bad that he is struggling and that he's, needs to take a step back from social media, and that he is literally like calling his ex-wife and saying, hey, I need you to help. Like, I need you to put additional time in with the kids because I am struggling so hard and I need this help. I feel so bad. But you are still in denial if you are saying, but for the record, the only time I've ever led a double life was when I was pretending everything was okay and it wasn't. That's literally the definition of a double life, Dave. When you are pretending that everything is okay and it's not. When you are struggling with something behind the scenes and you're not telling your partner. You're not telling your spouse. You're not telling the person closest to you who wants you to be okay. That's you leading a double life. That's I don't understand how that's a defense. Like, oh, well, I was just pretending stuff was okay and it wasn't. Like, I'm not the bad guy. And I get it. It's hard to face those things that you're struggling with, the things that like keep you up at night, the things that bring you down, the things that like plague your thoughts and keep you from having peace. It's hard to face those things, but it's still deceitful not to tell your partner, the person that you are a team with, the person who loves you and wants you to be okay. Thanks to all of you guys. Love you. If you see me around town, don't hesitate to come up and give the big guy a hug. It's what I need most these days. If you're an influencer, public figure, whatever, and you say, hey, if you see me in public, don't be afraid to come up and say hi. I'd love to meet you. That's a nice thing. But this is like sad fishing. This is, again, trying to appeal to the care that your audience has for you to make them feel bad for you. Dave just keeps going and pumping out content and doing book clubs and daily lives and overextending himself to the point where it's like, I can only imagine that your mental health is suffering from this, especially if you haven't taken the time to process the divorce from Rachel. Because again, divorce is a very sad thing. But it is your responsibility to work through it. It is your responsibility to take care of your own mental health. You are extremely lucky that you have Heidi, who I can only imagine is feeling like the last pick on the kickball team, who's here to support you and make sure that you are okay. And you are extremely lucky to have Rachel, who is willing to step up and take additional time with the kids. Because yeah, you can say like, oh, well, those are her kids. Like, why would that be hard for her to take those kids? But as a single parent, it's definitely different. She's running her business and she's used to like the schedule that she has. And so to be the one that, even if she's hiring a nanny for additional days, like that's an effort on her part. Obviously, she's their parent. Like, she's doing what she should do. We should expect that of Rachel. But Dave, like, you are so lucky that you have these two incredible women. Who would have thought that I would be saying that about Rachel Hollis? But these two women who are incredible to you and supporting you through this. And that's like, you should be leaning on people that you know in real life instead of putting the onus on your followers to take care of you. This should have just been a, hey guys, I'm struggling with something. I need some time off the internet, so I'm going to be taking a little bit of a break. I appreciate your support, and I'll see you when I'm back. And then when you come back, when you're feeling better, when you've processed through it for however long that takes, then you can share some additional details, and you can just be like, this is what I was struggling with, if you want to share it. Here's what I was struggling with. Here are some things that I did to help work through it, and here's ways that I'm coping, and I'm super excited to be back and make a positive impact. Like that's what I would like to see from an influencer. Now, we've gotten through this post, and the question that I have is, what's happening to the Congruent conference? I saw on Mac Attack's community post that he put like CronCon is canceled because he was calling it Omicron Con, CronCon, and I thought that was hilarious. And I saw a few people saying like, oh, that statement was really bad. So I don't know where that statement is. I've looked for it. Dave doesn't say anything about it. Heidi hasn't said anything about it. that I can still see publicly. Maybe they addressed it in their stories and I was just too late. Wade King doesn't have anything on his feed about it. Here's Wade's Instagram. We've got nothing about the Congruent conference in here. Just literally nothing. So now we go to the Congruent conference Instagram, and it's private. Nothing to see here. And finally, when you go to the website for the Congruent conference, it just says, sorry, online registration is closed. Which, okay, you know what? Maybe they've sold out, and so that's why you can't like get any additional tickets. Because if you go to MrDaveHollis.com, he is promoting for the Congruent conference February 4th through the 6th, literally coming up in the following week. And you say learn more and register now, and there's nothing. Support for existing customers is available at info@congruentlife.com. Now, maybe, like I said, maybe they just sold out and that's why you can't find this information. But I would like to know why all of a sudden the Instagram is private. I would like to know what Dave plans on doing if he is stepping back from, quote, all of his other obligations and only focusing on himself and his therapist. There's no way he's going to be giving keynote speeches, right? This is very confusing. And if I had spent between $500 and $800 on a ticket and I had booked my room for several $100s per night for this event, I would very much want to know. I can only hope that they've emailed the people who have tickets already to let them know what's going on. But it's just very shady to me that there hasn't been a statement of, hey, you know, we know that Dave is stepping back. He's going through a tough time, so we're still going to keep this going. Here's who's going to replace him, or like we're working on somebody to replace him. Or two, this conference, you know, one of the keystones of this conference is Dave Hollis and what he brings to the table. So we're going to need to reschedule. You know, those of you who bought tickets already, those will be valid for the new dates, and we'll let you know as soon as possible when those dates are going to be. If they cancel this and you bought or you got your hotel reservation, can you cancel it and get a refund? I hope so, because that would just be not fun. So in any case, I don't know what's happening with that conference. I have seen a lot of people say that it's canceled, and honestly, I can only assume that it probably has been. When you have so much of the ticket sales and the like schedule of a conference hinging on Dave Hollis, and now he's pulling out from these obligations, I don't know how much sense it makes to go on with the conference. But if I see anything before this video goes up that confirms that it has been canceled, I will definitely add it in here, because I think that that's important. You know, this is a big commitment. People have spent a lot of money on this, and it's really disappointing that literally the week before this conference is supposed to happen, it's happening the 4th through the 6th. Today is January 31st. So literally a week before they are supposed to have this event, Dave posts this thing about how he's not going to be there for anybody except for himself and his therapist. But hey, only time will tell. In the meantime, that's all I've got for now. Please let me know what you think of Dave's post and everything that it implicates down below. And while you're doing that, if you would consider liking this video or subscribing to my channel, that would be incredible. If you are subscribed already, thank you so much. I am so appreciative of you, and I love being able to just sit here, hang out with you, and talk about whatever. As always, I've got some important links in the description box down below, as well in the pinned comment, so please do check those out. It would mean a lot to me. And with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and let you go. Thank you so much for watching. Please be kind to people, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.